I'm going to be making some earrings, pendants and keychains today using this beautiful UV resin starter kit from Let's Resin. Everything you see here comes in the kit, so packed full of goodies. You get, let's go through everything you get. So you've got some cords here for some necklaces. You've got some open bezels. You've got some findings to make keychains, and you've got some findings there to make earrings. Nice set of handy tweezers. You've got some little stirry sticks there. Lovely handy little pot. And you also get some of the UV backing tape to use with the bezels. Gorgeous mould, isn't that lovely? For me, I mean, you could use these larger ones for not just earrings, but you could use those for the keychains. And you get some stickers, and 250 grams, you get a lovely big bottle of the clear hard type UV resin. Some beautiful dried flowers here, and you get some gorgeous glitters. Colours in there are lovely. And you also get some iridescent flakes and a UV lamp as well. Lovely little size for doing earrings and things like that. And you do get the USB lead as well. So let's get started on some earrings. Let's do this lovely leaf one first. So I'm going to start by adding some of the UV resin into one of these little pots. You get one pot in the kit, but you can use any little dish to mix up your resin. So a bit in there, and then in one of them I'm going to add some of the green glitter. This little gadget here has got a lovely little scoop end to it. So I'm going to pop some of the green glitter into there. And then in the other pot, I think I'm going to add some of this yellow flake stuff. So I'm going to add some of that into that one. Oh, I've got it flying everywhere. That would do, I think. Let's pop that lid on before it goes everywhere. And then let's give this a mix in. And the same with the other one. And I'm going to start by adding the glitter first. So I'm just going to pop some of that straight into there. We want these kind of similar because they're going to be earrings. So I'm just going to place it in roughly in the same area in both. And I'm going to top it up using the clear resin. Just to let that spread out a little bit more. Bit in that one, bit in that one. And then we're going to add some of these flakes here. So I'm going to pop some of those down into there. Same in that one there. And a bit more in that one. And a bit more in that one. And then top it up a bit more with the clear. And then using the pokey end of this tool, I'm just going to spread it all the way to the outside edges. I've got a bit more of this green in here, so I might as well add some more of that. Don't want to waste any. Pop that into there. And that one into there. And then I'm just going to use up this last bit of this other one as well. I think I'm going to add a few more of these flaky bits. So I'm just going to add these straight in over the top there. Pop some of those in. and then top it up again with the clear. A bit more in that one. And then I'm just going to take a long neck lighter, pop any bubbles that might be on the surface there. I need to get a new torch, and then we're just going to cure that for a couple of minutes under the UV lamp. And then once that's cured, we're going to flip it over and then cure the back for a couple of minutes. These are all cured now, so let's pop these out and see how these are looking. So that's our two little earrings. Beautiful. We'll put these together later. I think we'll do a pendant and earring set next. So a nice simple pair of earrings using some of these flowers. So I think I'll use these round ones here. I'm just going to put a small amount of the clear hard type down into there to start with. And then just work that all the way to the edges, making sure I've got round that little hole maker there. Same with that one. And then I'm just going to give that a quick zap with the long neck lighter, pop any bubbles, and then I'm just going to gently place in these pink flowers. I'm not going to be using the leafy bit. Just going to add that straight into there, and then the same with the other one. Pop that into there, and then I'm just going to top that up with a bit more of the clear hard type. Bit in there, bit in there. And again, just going to pop any bubbles with the lighter. And then cure that for a couple of minutes. Let's just make sure I've got those flowers where I want them. I think I want that moved up a little bit, and that one moved up a little bit. That's better. And then let's just give that another quick zap, and then cure that. And I'm going to cure it on both sides for 2 minutes. That's those all cured. I'll leave them in there for a minute. So let's do the pendant next. So I'm just going to pop some UV to fill the bottom of that mould in there. Same again, I'm just going to make sure I've got that all the way around that little hole maker there and all the way to the edges. Pop any bubbles with the lighter. And then we're going to place in some of the flowers. So I'm going to work as if this is going to be the front. So I'm going to start by adding some leaves to the back. Let's just pop these flowers out the way for the minute. Let's just pop that there so I can get to that leaf. Pop that one down there. And then we're going to add a couple of these flowers. So I think I'll put one there, and then I think I'll put the other one, if I can get hold of it, on that there. And I'm just going to use some of these, let's use these green flakes here. I'm just going to add some of these to the bottom area for a bit of grass. I think that would be enough. And then I'm going to cure that for a couple of minutes. And then we're just going to use some of the clear hard type straight over the top and fill up the rest of the mould. I'm going to try and get a nice dome on there if I can, without breaking that surface tension. And then same again, just going to pop any bubbles with the lighter. And then we'll give that a cure for a couple of minutes, and I'm going to cure this on both sides again. These are all cured up now, so let's pop these ones out. I'll start with these little earrings here. To be careful with those little hole makers at the top there. Just ease them out gently. And then the same with the pendant. Oh, that came out nice and easy. So that's the flowers. Let's put it on the back there. Nice and simple, but really pretty. I like those. And then we've got the pendant to match there. Loving those flakes. They're gorgeous, aren't they? So that's that one. Right, so what should we do next? Let's use this one as a keychain. So I'm going to start just by adding a layer of the clear UV down in the bottom there. And then spreading that out to all the edges. Oh, let's get that bit off my stick. Making sure I get round that hole maker again. Get that all the way to the sides. And then I'm just going to pop those bubbles with my lighter. And I think we'll use some more of these flakes because these are so pretty. I'm just going to use what's in the kit. I'm not going to use anything extra. So let's start with the purple. I'm just going to add these down into the bottom there. And then we're going to go in with, let's use this one next and pop some of those in there. Pop the lid on that one. Let's use some of this white next. Pop some of those in there. And then finish off the top with these lighter pink ones. So I'm just going to place some of those up the top there. Let's get those bits off my tweezers. Get in there. And then I'm just going to use the little tool just to push those down into the resin. And then top that up with some more of the clear. That's lovely and shiny and shimmery. Right, let's just make sure I've gone round that hole at the top there. And then make sure I've gone all the way round to the edges. I think we need a little bit more in there, so I'm just going to top that up a little bit more. Give that a quick zap with my torch. And then we're going to cure that for a couple of minutes and cure it on both sides. So you probably noticed way before I did that I put the clear resin in this one and then added all the flakes into this one. So I've added some blue flakes and some silver glitter into this one. So let's pop these out and see how they're both looking. So we've got those two there. That's going to need a bit of a file down, and the same with that one. Got some of those flakes there. So I'm just going to be using a nail file, and I'm just going to get off any of those extra little bits that are overhanging there. Got a little bit there. Get rid of that bit there. That's better. So that's the blue one. It's really pretty, like that. And then that's the pink one. Again, that's going to need a bit of filing down. Just smooth those edges down. And I think there's a bit down this bottom bit. Yep, there. There we go. So that's the pink one. Really pretty. Right, so I think next, let's do one of these open bezels next. Let's do this one here. So I'm going to lay out some of this tape. And let's just cut some of that off. Cut that down there. And then lay that down on the surface there. And I'm just going to use a couple of lollipop sticks just on the ends there, just so as if I need to move the tape, I can, nice and easy. So let's put that way. And then I'm just going to use another stick just to push that down nice and firmly. And then I flip it over, and then I'm just going to do the same on the back. So with this one, I'm going to put some of the clear resin into that pot there, and some more into that pot there. And then I'm going to use these two glitters in here. So I'm just going to add some of this one into that first pot. And then some of this darker blue into my second pot. Get that mixed in. And then I'm going to start by adding the darker blue down the bottom. Pop some of that down into there. Then let's go in with some of the other blue. Pop that over the top. That's enough, I think. And then I think I'm going to add some clear, oops, if I took the lid off first, some clear in that top section. And then spread that out to the edges. Then I'm going to add some of these flakes in that top section there. So let's put some of these up in that bit there. And then just make sure I've got that all inside that bezel area. And then I'm just going to do a little swirl up with the blue into the other blue, and then into there, and then give that a cure. And then we're just going to go in with the clear again and top this one all up, and then that will bring out the shine of that glitter even more then. So I'm just going to take that all the way to the edges. And I did cure the other side as well on this one as well. Let's get a nice dome going on this one. Right, pop any bubbles that might be on the surface there. And then cure that. So that's that one all finished. Looks beautiful. And with the leftover blues and the glitter that I had, we've got that little one there as well. I thought I'd hit record, but I must have hit stop. But I've just put the lighter blue at the top, then the darker blue, and swirled it around, and then added some of those little flakes. So those two are really pretty. So I think we'll do one last one. we'll do this one here. Let's pop that onto there, and I'm going to use my stick again just to make sure that's nice and firmly down in place, because we've also got these stickers that I haven't used yet, so they're lovely. Let's just turn that over and give that a rub on the back. So I think to go with these lovely gold stickers, let's use this black glitter. So I'm just going to put some resin in my pot and then add in the black glitter to that. Pop that in there. I think we'll do another couple of scoops of that and then mix that in. And then I'm just going to pour that straight into that bezel. Pop that in there. And then work that all the way out to the edges. Let's get all of that out of there. Don't want to waste any of it. And then I'm just going to use this tool just to push it all the way out and get a nice base layer on the bottom there. And then pop any bubbles with the lighter. And then I'm just going to cure that for a couple of minutes on both sides. And then I think I'll use this shooting star sticker here. So I'm just going to peel that off. And then I'm going to place that straight down onto there like that. Let's use a wooden stick just to get that down nice and firmly. And then let's have a look, what else have we got here? Should we add that little star there as well? Let's pop that one off. And then I'm going to add that one down to that left hand side there. If I can get it off my glove. Let's pop that one down there. And then give that one a little rub. And then we're just going to finish this off with a top coat of the clear. So just filling up the rest of that bezel, and then using these little tools, I'm just going to work that out all the way to the edges, and then pop any bubbles with my torch, and then we can cure that one. So that's that one all finished. I love that. It's really simple but effective, isn't it? Nice and elegant. Right, so let's make some of these into keychains, pendants and earrings. So let's get a couple of these jump rings from that pack there. And then we're just going to, they're already opened up. So I'm just going to pop that through the keychain and then through there. And then using another pair of pliers, clamp that and then just twist it back round into shape. You will need pliers for these because these jump rings that come in this kit are really strong, really lovely jump rings. So that's that one done. Let's do one more of these. So same again, just going to attach that through that, and then close that up. Just twisting it back to meet each other. So you're just twisting that way. So that's that one finished. Beautiful. Let's do some of the pendants. I think the only thing I'd say with this kit is that it would have been nice to have some gold jump rings as well, especially for these bezels, but they're really cheap to buy, so you can always just buy some more of those. Right, let's do a pendant and these earrings next. This is the jump rings and the earrings you get with this. So let's take a couple of these out And let's do the earrings first. So a couple of those out the pack, and then we're going to open up the jump ring, and you want to open this like that and not that way. So we're going to open that one out like that, and then pop that through the hole. Where's the hole? There it is. Oh, that jump ring seems a bit small. But they are quite thick, so maybe I've over poured them, or the kit could do with some larger jump rings as well, maybe. So I think for these, which is a shame because these are lovely and strong, the jump rings I've got, you could literally open them with your fingers, but these, you do have to use pliers for these. Right, so let's get some other jump rings. This is the little set I've got with lots of different sizes. So I think we probably need the larger size. So let's open this one out. Open that like that. Pop that through the hole. And then we're going to add, you need to make sure you've got your earring bit the right way. So it wants to sit, what I generally do is I twist these bits. So just going to give that a turn like that. So when that's in your ear, once that's on the jump ring, it's going to hang so the pattern falls to the front. So just going to close that one up. So closing it back up just in the opposite direction again, but still using that same motion. So that's our first earring like that. Pretty. So I'll just do the other one because you don't need to see me doing that again. With the necklace, I think we're going to have the same thing with the thickness of that. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to use one of my pinch bails. So let's pick one of these out. Let's have that one. And I'm just going to open up that pinch bail a little bit more there. Just spread that open. And then I'm going to put one side of that hole through there and then just clamp that back shut through the other end. Give that a little squeeze with the pliers. So that's that bit there. I'm going to take one of the necklace cords that you get in the kit, thread that through that hole, and then attach the other end to there. So that's our first necklace done. Really pretty, nice and simple, but really pretty. So I'll just finish off making the others and then I'll show you once they're all finished. So that's everything all made up now. I've made 3 of the key rings. So that's those 3 there. Beautiful, love those. And then we've got 2 pendants like that. Really pretty. Those flakes are absolutely gorgeous. Love those. Then we've got the pendant and earring set. So that's those there. Really pretty. And then with the leaf earrings, I added an extra jump ring there. So then they hang facing forward like that. So they're really pretty as well, aren't they? So fabulous little kit here if you're just starting out to using UV resin. Apart from the added jump rings and the pinch bails, I've made everything here using just what's in the kit. So fabulous kit. Thank you Let's Resin for sending me this kit, and thank you all for watching my video today, And stay tuned for the pictures at the end. And I'll see you all in the next one. Bye for now.